Hey guys, let's get back to another positional game. This is game number 2, and this game was played between our Grandmaster Guico Basso and the some players. Alright, game Basso as Zagzinze Qatar Masters 2015 is positional play and strategic thinking applicable even in dynamic complex position. Yes, it is. D4 knight f6, c4 e6, knight c3, bishop b4. This game was played against GM Nana Zakinze in Qatar Masters 2015, so 10 years ago. She chose the Nimzovich defense, queen c2. I like the systems a lot. In Alexei Drew steps, castle, knight f3, d6. She chose an ambitious line, g3 and e5. Very nice move, immediately striking in the center, getting out of theory and some sort of mixture stuff. Very nice. Best move for the engine, so she was clearly prepared. De5, de5 and a3. Obviously you can't capture this pawn being too greedy because black's idea is to give up the pawn for huge compensation. Queen e7, knight f3, rook e8, bishop e4, bishop f5, really crushing idea. You can't capture because this mate. Queen d1, only move, knight c6, castle, bishop c3, bishop c3, bishop e4. And black has full compensation, too much pressure on the diagonal, our pieces are not doing good, bad pawn structure, and just typical Budapest kind of stuff, and really bad position. So knight d5 won't be a good move. a3, I played this move to get rid of the pin. Bishop c3 was the best move in this position, considering that staying in the spirit of the Nimzo defense, bishop c3, queen c3 and knight c6 objectively equal position, or e4, which would have been dubious because of this move, knight d4. This is slightly better. Oh Jesus, sorry. This is slightly better for white, as we have a very strong control over the d4 squares, and the e4 pawn is going to be a target once the bishop comes to g2, and there can be some pressures. So bishop c3 would have been a best move, followed by knight c6, but in the game was played this move e4. His opponent wanted to have some imbalances and stuff, because he was playing a lower rated opponent, and that's how you technically play, just create some imbalances, give a better position, but go in a very dynamic and a very complex game, so that there's a fight, there's a chance. And I have played such games many times against some good strong kids in my city. Just some random moves, take them out of theory, and just in an uncomfortable territory, and let's see who is better at chess, where experienced players tend to win. e4, my opponent played the second best move, but it's inaccurate. ab4, ef3. I have the objective advantage now, but it is very difficult to play. Now white has only one move to not be worse. Note guys, to not be worse, as of course you got the bishop pair, but there's too much pressure here. The bishop on f3, sorry, f1 is not coming exactly. Pawn captures bishop e2, rook e8, too much pressure down there, and knight e4 is coming, knight c6, knight d4 is coming, too much pressure. But of course, ef3 would be a big mistake. Knight c6, and black has a huge initiative. For instance, we go b5, queen d1, bishop f5, and this is probably just winning for white. Maybe something like bishop d3 can be played, but rook e8, and I don't know if it's good. But yeah, actually bishop b3 by knight b3 bhi aa raha hai, which is very strong. So probably just winning for black, and that would have been a mistake. But in the opponent, in the game b5, the correct move, perfect move, I found the best move, not through calculation but through positional sense. See, dynamic complications, dynamic complex position, but still basic positional play and fundamental logic works. b5. I found the best move, not through calculation but through positional sense. If black manages to get a knight on c6, she will have a big initiative, so this move is absolutely necessary to stop knight c6. Now this is definitely a very strong prophylactic move. Not exactly you are trying to hinder the knight, you are weakening the c5 square, but the knight would be dangerous and killing on the d4 and b4 square, and you are restricting it. So you are like, okay, you can bring your knight to c5, and it will take some time, plus the knight on c5 is not doing much compared to the knight on d4. Meanwhile, I'm going to consolidate my position and have a very nice steady advantage with two bishops and open position. Rook e8, normal move, bishop e3, bishop g4. Black tried to stop me from development, and I replied instantly when I saw this move. Fe2, this was objectively the best, and the best position is, and this position is safer for white, but black's position is also playable after bishop g2, which is very interesting. If I manage knight e2, white is better, but black has knight g4, queen e2, knight e3, f e3, and knight d7. The evaluation drops with every move, and it should be close to balance. This is the best move. No other variation. Queen e2. Okay, why is she texting me? Okay. Okay. Out of nowhere. Okay, fe2, and then uh, queen e2, knight g4 is too much pressure. Bishop e2 is nice, and I wonder, but bishop h3 is very strong, and then obviously bishop f1 back, knight g4 is too much pressure. Bishop g2 would have been logical. But yeah, bishop g4 was played. Black tried to stop me from development, and I replied instantly when I saw this move with this very nice move, which is queen to d1. But a slightly better move, first I'll show you this one, a slightly better variation actually was h3. If I had stopped to think, like when you see a good move, look for a better one, I would have understood that if I include this tempo, it would be much better version. As bishop h5, now queen d1, the idea is very simple. It's clear that h3 was absolutely good since it also stops knight g4 in the future, gains the tempo. And after fe2, bishop e2, black has, it says that also compared to queen d1, black has no queen c8 defending h5 as the knight is in trouble. So he must play something like queen d1 and bishop d1 or bishop e2, queen e2, and then rook d1 is coming. That's clearly better. But obviously when you see such good moves like queen d1, very nice moves, you just don't tend to look for a better move, which is slightly dubious, but it's a good move indeed. Without much thinking, I went for this move, which is the correct idea, but the incorrect move order. I want to trade queens and also take on f3 at some point. fe2 was a strong reply, because of course you can't take the queen because ef1 queen and comes with a check, and then you capture the queen, win a piece. Bishop e2, queen c8, guarding the g4 black's position is fine. Knight d5 is interesting, looks like a logical try. Basically you are forcing him to trade the queens, and if the queens are traded, then you have very strong pawns on the queen side, bishop pair advantage, and open files, and very kind of consolidated position. So that feels clearly better. Pressure on the a file, if a7 pawn is going to become too much pressure, so that is why white would have been better. But with this move, what happened in the game, it hindered, and this is a slight objection, and after queen c8 this position is still better, but the bishops are not traded. So sorry, here queen c8 is not applicable. The queens ought to get traded, and here in this position when the queens are not traded, he could have went for queen c8, which is very interesting. After fe2, of course, not in this position queen c8 because he f3 hands. So fe2, then here queen c8, this was the variation, and that's why h3 was slightly better. And it's better, just to play such intermezzos, that like when you're feeling good move, just go for the better move. And I would have, I'm not a GM, of course, I might have whizzed it as well out of excitement when I see this. What the hell? भाई इतना सारा मैसेज कर रही है. Why is she texting me, dude? Okay. Yeah. So fe2, queen c8, and then fe2, bishop e2, queen c8, and then knight d5 is an interesting try. Bishop e2, knight f6 intermezzo, gf6, queen e2, and queen f5. The position is equal, but his opponent, the lady, went for queen d1. She took on d1, and I hope it is absolutely clear what is the correct reaction. King d1, very counterintuitive. It's hard for me to find king e1, and rook d, not that hard, it's very easy, but rook d1 comes to the mind. But when you think logically, the rook is doing great, the knight is doing great, king ought to move. I mean, there's no other way. And yeah, the rook is active, the knight is, yeah, exactly, the rook is active, the knight is active, so this is the correct reply. Elimination. NBD7, she finishes development. H3, fe2, bishop e2. This endgame is of course positionally better for white, but black had to find the correct way to create the best defense, and the best defense would have been bishop e2. Trading was the correct way, even it looks really unpleasant. A6 is the engine recommendation. B6, King D2, Rook B8, King C2, Knight E5, B3, and Knight C6 with counterplay on B4 and I guess A4, A5 or something like that. It is positionally worse. White can just improve the position, but more or less holdable. But Bishop F5 was played. Humans being humans, even grandmasters. It is always tough to choose between two bad positions. He understandably wanted to keep more pieces, but here it is even worse. G4, boom. I play for the D5 square now. Bishop G6, D5, G5, boom. King C1 would have been even better useful move, and Indian says H+2. Maybe prophylaxis Rook D1 first, and but King C1. What if he plays H6, H4? Maybe. G5, and then Knight E4, Knight D5. Big problems with the C7 pawn. You are just playing on the square now. Very solid and very nice play. It's hard for me. I would have considered to get my pieces into the game. Yeah, maybe King C1 I would have gone, but I like the way the GM plays. It's like I want to get all of my pieces into the game, but the GM knows that the pressure is too much. And notice how he's not capturing the pawn on H7, knowing that it's not the good time for him to capture. Also, the bishop A7, B7, the bishop is almost trapped, and Rook A7, bishop A7, B6, and the bishop is trapped. And he's just being patient, and as they say, thread is stronger than the execution. G5, Knight E4, Knight D5, very nice. Big problems with the pawn on C7. Rook A8 defends C7 but gives up on A7. Rook cross A7, C6, and I found the nice bishop G4, nice intermezzo. The game was then about navigating the complications. CD5 takes. Bishop H5 would have been interesting, was Indian's best try, trying to play for the positional compensation. King E1, Bishop F3, Bishop C8, Rook C8. Nice move, giving up the exchange sacrifice. Too much activity. Rook C1, DC4, and too much control over the key squares. Very cramped and uncoordinated position for white, but okay, nice. I think that also this should be winning for white, but more practical problem. Backline create, I agree. Bishop C4, D4 was played. She tried to confuse the position at maximum, but Bishop C8, D3, Bishop B7, Knight E2, King E1. Just some calculation, King E1, and then she's threatening this. But Rook A3, protecting that, defending from Knight A3. Checkmate. Okay, how's it a checkmate? Knight D3 checkmate. मैंने क्वीट बन रही है चेकमेट नहीं दिख रही चेकमेट कहाँ है हार रहे हैं बट चेकमेट तो नहीं है Rook D8, Rook cross E3, Knight cross H1, Bishop cross H1. Now it's easily winning, of course. Rook D1, King F2, F5. Back rank issues, guys. Bishop F3, F4, BD1, F3. My opponent resigned because the pawn is unstoppable. It was an instructive game with a lot of positional decisions for both sides. B5, key move. Bishop E3, another. I would be scared to play Bishop E3 due to Knight G4. What if Knight G4 actually? Too slow Knight G4. Knight G4. Rook D1 actually. Rook D1, Queen E7, Knight D5, I guess. Yeah. EF3, wow. Okay, I like it. Screw it. Free pawn. Just feels better. Initiative, development, and everything feels better for it. Yeah. Very nice idea. Realizing that queens need to be treated, positionally better position. Too much pressure, बस feel हो रहा है. Obviously bishop pair भी है. Solidity है. I don't know exactly. Bishop pair has solidity here, too much pressure, pieces are better placed, well coordinated, and yeah. Quite a short and instructive game. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Bye bye.